I'm like done with it.
It's ridiculous.
This is the first time I've been out in a while.
All right. It's 7:01 on April 26th, 2026. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Eastern Delaware County Joint Recreation Center. Mr. Hennessy, could I get a please?
Mr. Coy.
Here.
Miss Watson.
Here.
Miss Krager.
Here.
Miss Sabata.
Here.
Mr. Muzakio.
Here.
And Mr. Elliott.
Here.
6 present. We have a quorum.
Perfect. The first item on the agenda are the meeting minutes of April 13th of 2026. Does the board have any discussions, any comments?
I just noticed on the second page, the board said its next meeting for Sunday, April, and it's 2/6. I think it just needs to be fixed to say April 26th.
Thank you.
Correct.
And that's all I got.
Could I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the April 13th, 2026?
I will.
Ms. Krager?
I'll second.
Ms. Sabata?
Miss Krager.
Yes.
Miss Sabata.
Yes.
Muzakio.
Yes.
Miss Watson.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott.
Yes.
6 yeas, motion approved.
Perfect. Next item on the agenda, public comment. Anybody from the public would like to speak? Not today. All right. We'll move forward. Next item, unfinished business. There are none on the docket. Anybody want to discuss anything, board? Nope. Moving. Next item, new business. 2026 budget update.
Yeah, so it's, as we haven't provided a budget update yet this year, so I thought I would give you a sense of where we are. Plus, it'll be helpful as we think about the next step in terms of engaging a professional to assist with phase 2 of the community center planning process. So I think it's on packet page 4. You can see the budget as of today's date. So as a reminder, $100,000 in grants provided by the 3 jurisdictions. In terms of expenses to date, we've had a little bit legal expense, 1 bill at $930. Most of the expenditures have been related to completing phase 1 of the community center planning, the feasibility study that we received a report on at the last meeting. So we've incurred just a little short of $25,500 in expenses off the $100,000 budget. So it leaves us at $74,500. The one thing I would add is, or will add, is that the legal expenses a little higher than we had in last year's budget. But remember, we had included some additional funding there for the bond related services. So given the schedule, we may be a little heavy in terms of what we've budgeted for legal. I'm not asking that we do anything in terms of a revision, but just FYI.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. Board, any discussions on this?
Insurance, when are we supposed to? I haven't heard anything on that. I know we signed, I don't know, we've not been charged or billed anything yet.
Wasn't it?
Not for the
I thought
current.
it was an annual policy and that we entered into it around August of last year. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm sure we could double check. that.
Yeah, I'll check on the insurance payment.
Yeah, because I remember making phone calls about that last summer when it was really hot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I also have a question. All of the expenses current, are there any outstanding invoices that still need to be paid?
The only one, I expect one more bill from Pizzuti Solutions to finish out phase 1. So the April bill I don't have yet from them. So that's probably,
Sorry, Gerald, then they also send one for some reimbursables.
they did. We got that signed. at the
Got
last
taken care of,
meeting.
okay.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, so everybody is paid. Again, I expect though one more from them to finish out their
Do we know
April expenses.
approximately how much that will be?
I think it's around 7. It's no more than 8. I think it's 7,000, something like that.
I thought their contract was capped. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has expenses, this is this year's expenses last year's appropriation. Well, it's this year's appropriation too, but yeah. So this is not the total cost. I guess my point is this is not the total cost of phase one. I can go back and check the budget on that.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll probably have somewhere in the ballpark of 47,000 for consulting services after we totally pay Pizzuti for round one.
Left
I
over.
think it's somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
I agree.
That still leaves us with some other consulting. I think we need to come up with is for the cybersecurity. As we get into that, we should kind of have an idea. So I will start getting some ballpark of what that looks like. We should have an idea. We have nothing. The JRD doesn't own anything, but it'd be good to budget for that for the future. One of the items that we did not discuss, and this kind of goes into the website, is do we want to own our own website or do we want to consult that out? What does that want to look like? If you have the funds, great, but is it wise to do so? Thoughts from the board?
Do we have expertise on the board to do that?
Say that again.
Sorry, I'm struggling with a bit of a cold. Do we have capability on the board to manage the website? Is there someone that is proficient at doing that?
Yeah, currently Jody and I are managing it. It was set up in GoDaddy. We're managing it through that avenue. Neither one of us are familiar with the platform, but we're learning. So the other option is get a consultant that can customize it just for us. However, at the time, we are still somewhat in its infancy, but we want to really focus on centralizing our information and having it available to our constituents. So right now we are working through what do the minutes look like and everything else. So housing all of that on the website right now. We're trying to figure that out. I think there's some limitations, Jody.
Yes. Well, maybe as we talk about the next phase of the project, maybe that's a service that the consultant can help us with as well, because they probably have expertise in house.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Correct. I reached out to a local web designer here in town. They gave us a couple of just ballpark. If you want to redo the whole thing was X amount. If you want us to help a little bit, here's that. And it's just hourly. So it's something that we should probably think about, not necessarily for this instance, but something to budget for in the future.
What is the ballpark costs for those roughly?
Yeah.
They don't have them, that's okay.
No, I think I do. It was, for a complete redesign, it was about $7,500. It would be a monthly hosting and updating of roughly 100 to 150 to maintain it and update it and everything else. Or you could just set a certain amount of hours towards it. So I'm like,
Okay.
well, it could be cut the price in half.
Okay.
So.
I think we need to understand what we're gonna have in phase two with Pizzuti before we make any other kind of financial decisions, so.
Understood. Yep. Anything else for budgetary? All right. Next item, Community Center Planning Services, Phase 2, Scope of Services. Mr. Hennessy?
All right, so as we talked about at the last meeting, I tried to put together a draft scope of services for phase two, the planning project. So that is in your packet. That's what, packet page 5?
That's page 5.
All right, so this looks similar, but not exactly aligned with what Pizzuti Solutions had proposed. But I explained the slight differences there. All right, so if you skip to the general scope of services, the project overview and the background looks similar to what we had done the first time to identify the contractor who helped us with the feasibility study. Then we moved down to, like I said, the general scope of services, sort of building upon the community needs assessment and market analysis. And it includes a deadline here of January 15, 2027. As a reminder, the schedule for getting on the May ballot is early February. So this would give us the conclusion by that date to determine how we want to proceed. All right, and then so basically 3 broad categories: programming and facility development. So we do still need to do some refining of the programming and the facility itself. We talked about a little bit more analysis regarding the indoor-outdoor requirements. I think we've got a pretty good handle on what the community is looking for from the indoor perspective, but a little bit more on the outdoor is probably necessary at this point. Future expansion needs, so basically make sure that they're accounting for what that looks like and needs to be. We've talked a little bit about having a partner, a wellness partner as part of the community center. So this needs to dig more deeply into how much space would a partner have, who might that partner be. I don't think we have to determine our partner before we do the operational, the pro forma on it, but we can include a number in terms of what we think the rent value from that particular partner might be based upon what other community centers are getting around the area. And then still a little bit more regarding potential sites for athletic fields. Again, I'm not sure that this answer has been, or this has been completely answered at this point. There's been some discussion about the athletic fields, but again, most of the focus has been on a community center and whether or not the community center might be able to accommodate some athletic training. But now we really need to dig deeper into the field situation. And then, as we talked about, some sort of high level conceptual layout and rendering, something that we can visually show the public what this could look like. Doesn't mean what it will look like, but what it could look like. Because after we get through in my view, after we get through the ballot process, we would then go out and engage an architect to do the detailed drawings associated with that. So again, this could be a rendering to help visualize, but certainly not the detailed architectural drawings. All right, on the financial strategy, funding approach, so talked about engaging a construction management firm or an estimator to develop a reliable cost estimate. As Ms. Princehorn has mentioned several times, it is critical that we get this number right so that when we go to the public, we've got the right number. Construction management, so that's somebody outside of the architectural team that really builds things and understands what the cost of construction looks like in today's market. Partner with a third-party financial group related to or selected by the contractor to identify the viable funding mechanisms regarding site acquisition, construction, and operations of the center. So this is the financial advisor that has been referenced. The city does have its own financial advisor, and I'm sure actually the other 2 jurisdictions do as well. Here we've indicated selected by the contractor, but I think the chair has indicated that maybe there's some flexibility there. So let's talk a little bit about that when we get done. Evaluate the operator options. So this is really how will it be operated? Will the joint recreation district engage its own staff, or will it engage in a contract to have somebody help manage the community center? And then we talked about the pro forma, and we want them to bring recommendations to the JRD about what it thinks is the best path forward. So not just developing the scenarios, but bringing a recommendation to you as well. And then the final broad category under site selection, finalize the criteria. I think we're pretty close on that one. I doubt there's a whole lot more that needs to be done there. But we have to dig more deeply into identifying, evaluating the potential sites. Here we had talked with the chair about seeking the assistance of maybe a local real estate professional to assist so that Pizzuti is working with, again, somebody here who understands this market a little bit more. So we're encouraging the contractor to, again, identify a local agent to help them with that. Comparative analysis of the sites, and then a preferred site and acquisition strategy. I know we talked a lot at the last meeting about how would we go about acquiring this site if we didn't have any money. So we need them to help us understand what that acquisition strategy could look like. All right, and then just some additional requirements. The contractor will identify a project manager, so basically a point of contact for us, and responsible for completing the project on time. Again, back to the point that we want to be ready to take it to the ballot in May of 2027 if that's what the board decides it wants to do. They're going to meet. We ask that they meet with JRD representatives and staff at least on a monthly basis throughout. to provide progress reports and also then come back to the board as necessary to provide updates to you. And then, so it said this last point, the JRD will consider contractors with previous engagement for facilities of similar type and size that resulted in funding mechanisms that successfully reached the ballot. So let me just on that point say this, that we had identified Pizzuti Solutions in the first round as a qualified provider of services, and then worked out a scope of, or worked out the cost of those services. That's what the next thing in your packet is about. It basically says you can continue to waive competitive bidding and take who you think is a qualified contractor and immediately begin a conversation with them about scope and price, which is where I think we should be personally. So basically, if we can agree with the scope, my next task then would be go back to Pizzuti Solutions, because again, we've identified them as a qualified provider. Plus, there's probably nobody more qualified to get us to the next level because of what they've done in the first stage. Go back to them, work out a scope, or work out the price. You're working out the scope, work out the price, and bring the price back. If you don't like the price and we can't come to a price agreement with Pizzuti, then we would go out and seek we would go out, basically back out to the market to see if we could find a qualified contractor for that service. And if we do, that last point then comes back into play, because now then what's going to qualify the contractor would be somebody who's done similar work, gotten to a ballot, and had success. So that's the reason we want to make sure we had that in there if we get to that stage. So anyway, with that, just thoughts or comments?
You draft this scope?
I did, but again, it's built off of what was in the feasibility study, and the chair and I did have a little bit of a conversation about it. So it is modified a little bit to reflect.
I'm sorry, can I just make sure I fully understand then what we're talking about? So right now, we're talking about approving the scope of work. And then the next step would be for you to go talk to Pizzuti, get a price, and then the full board would talk about the price as soon as we can.
So right. So what tonight is about is there more that you want to do? Is there more emphasis in one of these areas that you think I not captured accurately? Is this the scope? Again, this is the scope that was recommended for the most part, again, with some slight modifications. But if there's something else you want to see in the scope, that's what tonight is about. Let me know that.
My big question is about the work shall be completed no later than January 15th of 2027. I'm just wondering, can we try to bump it up? I guess, how did we come up with that date?
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure that we had all of the information done and reported to the board before you have to begin to consider resolutions to get an item on the May ballot. Because we'll have to act on, and I can never remember the names of them. But I think there are two documents that you would have to approve in early February and on the ballot in May. So I want to make sure that we're completely done with phase 2, which I think gets us ready to make a decision about whether or not to be on the ballot. So that's the reason for the January 15th date.
I was going to say the same thing as you. I felt like the date feels very late. It's 8.5 months. And I know we have to work around an election, and I think that's what's frustrating just for me, personal level, but it's because it's like this doesn't feel like 8.5 months worth of work. But that's neither here nor there because it needs to happen around an election. So, but if we could see this earlier in like December, I think it'd be better to help with like decision making and talking through. It gives us a little bit more time just for the rest of getting it on the ballot.
Yeah, because I don't want to, if it really takes that long, it really takes that long. And I don't want anybody rushing. And, I think a lot of times when you artificially rush something, you make it worse in the long run. But if it can be done sooner, I guess I would say I prefer that, because I guess I don't know that I've ever been involved in a big project where you get to the end and you're like, oh, we didn't, what about this or what about that? And if it's January and we're looking at February, it'd be nice to have if we have those realizations to do it and when we still have some time. That being said, if it really does take till December or January, then.
And then I know
good feedback.
I know we talked about this last time, but what would be and I wasn't in the room, what would be the date if we want to get on the November ballot? And I'm sure it's pie in the sky, but what's our timing if we absolutely,
It's August
Was it?
5th, 4th, something, like that, early August.
okay. I know their recommendation was not to rush it.
Yeah. I will say that, well, I don't want to speak for them, but if I went back to them with that date, they would say we can't do it. So then we would be looking for somebody else to get us to phase 2. The other thing, I you know, is as Ms. Princehorn has said, again, it is critical to get that number right first time you go to the ballot.
Yeah.
Because you're only going
You only shot.
And again, site selection, the operating, the pro forma, sure, certainly, but the operating model in terms of partner versus, staffing model, I think still needs to be resolved. And then partner issue, again, we don't have to decide who the partner is, but I think we have to make a decision about whether or not we want a partner, a health partner in the facility. So those are 3 key questions.
Is there, maybe we don't know the answer to this, but, and maybe I'm opening a can of worms, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Is there a way to move this project forward using another form of public funding, whether it's like the Delaware Finance Commission or a loan from the state of Ohio? I don't know if we've even looked into that, a bond from a different entity versus going to the voters. I don't know, just to have, if, and maybe that's not plausible and it wouldn't even help, but I wonder if that's another way to go.
Well, I mean, that is one of the things we asked them to do, is consider other funding options
Okay.
and to bring all the funding scenarios to you. So, I don't know another option,
Yeah.
but,
I think I know, and I don't want to push, but can we get, I think we need some, I like the scope. I do think it's complete, but some milestones, right? And maybe that's what we ask for when we get a price back from them is you're going to, sure that the whole thing needs to be wrapped up by December, whatever date we choose, but by X date, we need funding options, by Y date, we need, potential partners, right? I think we need just some milestones so we're keeping ourselves accountable as well, and the public is keeping us accountable to moving this forward.
Is that something that you see us setting the dates on, or is that something that we would defer to the consultant?
We need to work with them on it,
Okay.
right? As the owners, right? I think we need to make sure that we're pushing them and that they're giving us the proper feedback,
Okay.
right? And they have, if we said it's got to be November and they said we can't do it, okay, then we need to make a decision. Do we listen to them, or do we go find someone else who can do it? Probably the former, not the latter, right? So then it becomes, okay, well, what can you do? And then let's be realistic about timelines. Let's hold them to those timelines.
Yeah. So it's essentially setting, like you mentioned, milestones where we would expect, check back in with us, correct this information.
Yeah.
And that discussion happens during negotiations or what?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I like that as well.
Which I think they did a good job of in phase 1. I don't want to say that they didn't. I think we're all feeling like, we wanted this sooner, so.
Yeah.
Do we think they can do this before December, like before?
yeah, I mean, I think that's a good suggestion.
I'd like to see it before Thanksgiving, honestly. You don't want to.
Yeah, me too.
Thanksgiving.
December's gonna be hard for us to find time to meet, and
That's it, yeah.
I mean, we can shoot for
I mean, do we say
early November.
once the contract starts, you have 4 months?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you're talking,
I don't know, that's what I'm saying. I think this doesn't feel like,
maybe,
it's a good scope, but it's just like 8.5 months, like,
Well,
yeah.
and I think that part of it too can also be how long it takes us to actually, get it negotiated and signed and everything
True.
as
Yeah.
well. which
Yeah, that's true.
May
That's gonna take another month, you're right.
Yeah.
Probably.
We might have to have a fairly aggressive meeting schedule to get
Yeah.
all of that done, which I think we can do, but
Yeah.
there is that inherent delay.
we're still
You're right.
decent amount. 6 months. I would think 6 months should be.
Well,
Well,
I guess I was a little ahead of myself here, but.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know what they would say they would need.
It's just worth the conversation with them.
Yeah.
To see what they say.
Maybe they, yeah.
To your point, I'd rather front load this than back load it during
Right.
holidays and everything else.
Once we get into that, yeah.
Very good point.
All right, so I think what I'm hearing then is the preference would be for completion prior to Thanksgiving. Absolutely no later than say mid-December. I mean, before, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with the
With,
benchmarks.
you know,
With that,
without a
yeah,
model.
exactly.
Milestones.
Yeah, without a
Or
model.
other deliverables.
Yeah.
Built into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it gives us a little flexibility to pivot and maybe do other things if we feel like we need to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you.
I guess as we look into this, here we have all the technical information in here. One thing that we don't have part of the scope, as I think of it, is community engagement.
Mm.
Yeah. We're gonna have to explain why we're going to May rather than November. We've discussed that, and it would be tough. So for them to come up with how are we going to keep the community engaged in all of this?
Yeah, I did have that in, and then I took it back out, and I put it back in, and obviously I landed by taking it out. Because I really didn't know where that would be. It's probably programming and facility development support. But yeah, let me get that back in there and see what they might be recommending in the way of community engagement along the way.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, facility and programming, absolutely. And also I think financially, gauge what people are wanting to pay, and how they think it financially could work for them. So I don't know how to
It's always tough. People see a big headline number and then they don't realize what their impact. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so on that one, we'll definitely want to make sure we're working closely with Mike, because again, there are limitations on what this board can do in terms of asking, you know, what will voters support. So yeah, we'll have to figure that piece out.
Good. Anything else on this one?
Sorry, I have a couple more questions.
Please do.
Do you have a sense of how long it would take for you to work with Pizzuti to give us a price?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that coming into this meeting. I was thinking, well, if we had 3 weeks, I could probably get a price from them and negotiate the price with them and get something back, a proposal back that I could get to you. So yeah, if our next meeting is 3 weeks out, I think that's doable. Then there'll be a little bit of back and forth on the contract execution, but because we've already executed one contract with them, I think that'll be a little bit easier to do if we ultimately land there. So. And that'll get us back together before, well, I don't know, by mid-May, before school lets out, and probably isn't ideal either, but we'll spend a little bit of time figuring that out here. So yeah, I think 2 weeks is probably a little tight. I'm not sure if I can get it done in 2 weeks.
I think 2 weeks is tight. I think 3 weeks might even be a little tight.
It might be, but at least it gives us the motivation to try.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm just trying to think through how long it took us to actually execute the contract last time. I think there was over a month of delay just with that.
There was a little bit, but
that it should be smoother. I'm
Yeah.
trying to, come up in my own mind, how long it took last time, and if we're a little faster, great. So maybe if we got it done in a couple weeks.
I guess with that said, if we can't come to terms with Pizzuti and it's going to take us 3 weeks, then we lost 3 weeks to find somebody else.
Well, I'll stay in touch with you as the chair. If things are
Appreciate that.
going well, we can pivot.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of back and forth. Mike had reviewed the contract. There were a few edits back and forth. Like I said, I think, but again, assuming we could use a similar contract, I think they accepted at the end of the day. Pizzuti accepted the contract revisions that Mike had proposed. So hopefully they'd be in the same position. So
Do we not have did we sign a master services agreement and then we can just add addendums to it, or is it every contract needs to be separate?
I mean, going forward, we might be able to do a
Okay.
master services agreement, but that's not the way we executed the first.
Okay.
So
Just maybe a thought.
Yeah.
Make it easier in the future.
Which board members were involved with the review of it?
Of what the
Of-
contract?
Yeah, or just a selection process, I guess. Any of that.
No, I wasn't necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you guys be available for this as well? Then, I mean, Daryl, whatever you come up with, let's keep them in the loop as well. I want to learn from what you guys did.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, they were involved in the selection,
Yeah.
qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I can definitely keep you in the loop in terms of how it's going. Okay. All right, I think that's what I need. Thank you.
I think the next item, resolution number 2026.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I just want to be clear, we don't need to act on this one this evening. Mike and I were talking through procedurally how when we get ready to accept the next proposal, what does that process look like? And so I've included in the packet, the last 2 pages are the contract authority and bid policy approved by the board last year. On the very last page in sections, well, let me back up to say this. The resolution references, whereas section 4 of the board's contract authority and bid policy permits the board to waive obtaining multiple quotations when seeking to purchase professional services. So if you look at section 4, it says in situations covered by 2 and 3. Well, 2 is basically a proposal that's between 5,000 to 25,000. 3 is something between 25 and whatever the current cap is on non-competitive bidding in the state contract. So it's a little over 75,000. Basically, if it's either one of those, you can go to section 4. And if it's one of the conditions under 7A through 7G, again, you can waive the purchase or the getting multiple quotes. And if you go to section 7, the purchase of professional services, item number C is in there. So just trying to kind of walk you through the authority on which you'd be able to make this decision without going back through the process of, seeking a qualified applicant through the process that took whatever, 2-3 months the last time. So anyway, so we'll hold this until we come back with a bid or with a proposal. And, if you're prepared to accept it at that point, that's when we would act on the resolution. All right. That is it.
I do have one item as we discuss schedule moving forward. I think we've discussed November 26, May 27. We just want to be very clear that we should all be on the same page where we stand with things. Not sure if we need to do a vote or anything, Daryl, what we want to move forward with, whether we want to explore 26, see if it's even viable at all based on other people. If 27, whether it's May, I think even in here, I believe stated maybe even November of 27. Is that something that we should vote on as a board to shoot towards? Is that a goal we need to have? How do we articulate what our plans are?
Well, I thought, we put it's in the minutes from the last meeting that we had talked about it, and the priority was to be ready to go in May 27, if that's what the board decides it wants to do. So I think you ought to kind of hold out the option as to whether or not you think, the strategy is the right time to go. We'll want others to kind of help advise you on whether that's the better strategy, or this better strategy is to wait for a general election where you've got, a bigger pool of voters. I'm not an expert when it comes to kind of assessing, the best time to take a ballot initiative. We can find others who might know that. I guess I think it's early to kind of state what you want to do. I think you've made it clear that you want to be as ready to go in early 27 as possible. And that's what the scope of services says. That's what the minutes say. I think you've made a statement on some level. And then as we get closer to that, like I said, you'll make another decision as to whether or not you're really ready to go in May, but at least you'll have the information to make that decision.
Okay. Okay. Besides the professional services items, I think there's some other items that I think we need to make progress with. One of them, we cannot campaign on behalf of the JRD. The political action committee should be something that we look into. I believe Mr. Ringel said that we could look it up, see if the past one was still available. And if not, how do we start that up? I think it's something that we should touch base on from my perspective. And sooner rather than later. Again, we want to front load things rather than on the backside. Anybody have any experience in looking into political action committees?
So I guess I would suggest, I don't know that that's really something that we can do here in this forum.
Yeah, can we hold that until
Understood.
Mike's back at the next meeting?
Understood.
To advise on that.
Yeah, yeah. No worries. Yeah, I guess then that was it for me for now.
Can I ask a question about participation in elections? Typically what we see, I don't know if that data has been brought to us. Do we expect a high level of participation in May versus November? Or are we going to get criticism by waiting until May because there won't be as high a turnout just because it's not a general, is that correct? Not a general election?
Yeah, it's not. So, yeah, I mean, there will definitely be a smaller turnout at a primary election than it's a general election. Yeah, absolutely. But that's why I said, I think that's a decision I think you got to strategize a little bit more about, like, when is the best time to take this? And again, there are others who would be able to advise you much better than I, so.
We engage like a Becky to start working with us. I don't know.
But we can bring Becky back in if you want to. I mean, Mike works directly with her. I mean, if you think it would be helpful to have her, I can talk to Mike about whether or not she can speak to these other types of issues a little bit better than he can. Or if he feels comfortable doing it. I'll like I said, we'll put the issue of the campaign committee discussion, again, how much can there be of that discussion on that? And then, maybe Becky again can help advise about her experiences in the past. I'm sure she's done it on all different types of
Maybe
things.
sooner than later, if we could have her talk to us, that way we kind of work two fronts at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
Be good.
Okay.
Is one of the items Mr. Elliott and I discussed was, well, as we are potentially delaying, could we provide the community with an alternate option? I'm throwing this out there. As we are going from November to May, early May, maybe late May, it's fine. Are there any intermediate steps we could do? Because once we get going, it will take 5 years to get this completed and up and running. Could we explore anything else in the meantime to help with the community? Is there any other options that are maybe lower hanging fruit, maybe more feasible that we could explore to help out with the local groups? I believe Pizzuti had some information about turf, about outdoor fields. Is there any way that the JRD could assist in that option in the meantime?
I think going back to what I was talking about is with alternate funding options is there a ready facility or a piece of land that we can buy or lease or whatever in the interim to get something started so that we can start to have a proof of concept, start to gain some revenue, start to understand the actual demand of the facilities as we're going to ballot and then building something brand new. Like, what can we do now? And I'd be interested to hear kind of Pizzuti's feedback on that. But also, I think we as a board should also be thinking about interim steps, right? Like, is there a field where we can lease and put down some turf and make it a baseball diamond or a soccer field or whatever, right? Is there a vacant building that we can lease out and start to do that? But obviously, we need funding for it. We need to understand how that all works. Still need the operating model, who's going to manage it, the whole thing, right? So there's still a lot of questions to be answered, but is there something that we can do in the interim while we're waiting for a larger facility to, like, what we want to be built? But that's, again, when we look at that timeline, I think we all got a little surprised by that last week. We're talking 5 years, right? So I know my kids are gonna be almost out of the house at that point, right? And through high school, I think most of us feel the same way. So I know, Maria, you're in a different situation, but still like.
I don't train yet.
You wanna use the facility. I know you're still like, you're in your athletic prime, so I know you wanna play and so. But no, but in all seriousness, what is it? I think we need to be thinking about alternative solutions while we're working towards getting this thing built.
And it sounds to me too, like a lot of that is gonna be a function of like the site selection and site availability too. I mean, cause
Can be
I
different.
think it's something to think about holistically as we're
Mhm.
doing that. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, my oldest son, he's gonna start high school next year. And
Exactly.
after he left one of the meetings, he's like, oh, it'd be so cool if this is done by the time I'm before I get out of high school. It's like, would have been nice, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, my daughter, our kids are obviously the same age. My oldest daughter is going to high school next year too, so, yeah.
Yeah, some holding out hope for the 8-year-olds.
Yeah, so, all right, well, I mean, I'll ask them as part of the scoping discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, the board, the only source of revenue you have at this point is contributions made by the local jurisdiction. So, I mean, until there's a more dedicated source of funding, we'd have to keep going back to the city of Sunbury, the Berkshire Township, and the village of Galena. I think that's probably somewhat limited and maybe not overly realistic, but again, maybe I could, again, when talking to Pizzuti and talking about kind of the planning, again, I know the focus has been on a community center and you're asking, is there something that can happen prior to that? And maybe the prior to that still follows a ballot process, but can get up faster than a building. So, I mean, to Howie's point, maybe if you've secured the site, you can put in a field for something earlier on. And so that's, 2.5 years out rather than 5 years out or something like that. So, yeah, okay.
2.5 is still a long time, Daryl.
I know that. I know. Yes, yes, yes. It,
Very anxious, as you know, so.
Anything else? Oh, we'll move on. Information, nothing else? Then I will make a motion. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
no. Set a meeting date.
Come on. Meeting date. Daryl, you mentioned 3 weeks out. Can we have an honest vote on whether Sunday is good?
I'd rather not do Sunday.
It caught me completely off guard.
When I say, if it wasn't for your text, Bernie, I was like half asleep on my couch, so I'm glad you texted me.
That's 1, 2.
Yeah, so that's the week of the 17th, May
Yep.
17th.
Correct.
That's also probably the last week of school, is it? Yeah.
It is.
I had field day the 18th, so it's like me. I really,
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm at school at 6 a.m. and have the entire, it's just,
Got
I
it.
can't do the 18th. I will
Yeah,
be
okay.
wiped out and I should be able to think.
Come in a little sweaty, you'll be fine.
Does the 19th work?
I can't do the 19th, but I could do the 20th.
I can't do the 20th.
I'm the same. I can't do 19th, but I could do the 20th. I could do the 20.
Could we bump it up to like the 14th?
I don't know if we'll have enough time for Daryl to get,
I mean, that would be like one day. It'd be like just
yeah,
Friday,
it's true.
not
The 14th
just
is
one business day.
wide open on my end,
Thursday.
or Thursday.
May 14th,
I can do the 14th.
I can as well.
It's
If I have to, I can make it work that out. At like 6 again.
I would prefer,
It doesn't
it's the only time my daughter's in town.
You don't want to bring her? Just kidding.
Come hang out.
I mean,
Kidding.
I think we have reservations somewhere already. I feel bad, but
Yeah.
if she wasn't working away this summer.
I brought my son once and he fell asleep.
Oh.
Are we ending up on
Like
this?
21st, we do the 21st.
Isn't that the last day of school?
This is like, the kid, I think the kids are on like what, a 2-hour delay maybe?
Early release.
Not even these.
Sorry. For 1 hour, I don't know.
They're like 4. Kidding. Get it over with.
I could do the
Pushing us
21st.
back to like 4 full weeks, I don't
Right.
know.
I mean, nobody has discussed the 17th, have we?
I could probably do the 17th, and it's like,
I
I've
could
been
probably,
asking a lot, I know of you guys to do it again. Is it a Sunday?
this Sunday.
No?
I'm,
Graduation, like out of town,
Okay.
2 hours away.
All right.
the
Well,
21st
I mean,
did work for everybody or
I mean,
4, 6, I could be back by 7 on that Sunday,
We could do a virtual meeting, right?
Yeah, we can.
yeah, could we just,
We can definitely do virtual.
We're allowed to do it.
Yeah, we could do a virtual
If
meeting.
that helps or.
This is my last one from the phone, so if you're in the car.
are we saying 17 or 21?
Either for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
either. Todd?
17th is better, probably, I
Okay.
can say it, but. It's a Sunday, but.
Hallie?
either is fine. I go with this
Jody?
Sunday too, though. I have to say it.
Okay, well,
I hate to say
if I
it.
had to pick 2, I'd pick Sunday night. But not too late.
Sunday night it is again. I said we wouldn't do that.
Thank you, everybody.
Sunday,
I apologize.
Daryl.
Don't apologize.
It's Daryll who hates.
Daryl, are you available?
That's a conflict.
At the beginning I did.
Do this remote, or are we talking about here?
Did we say 7 p.m.?
Yes.
I think in person is fine. I did put down Village of Galena to see if we did a remote, that's probably not a capability that they would have. We do have Mary in the room. I mean, Berkshire could offer up. I don't know if that works. If you would want to host it on the 17th. It's a Sunday night, maybe that gets,
I'm sure. If I can figure out how to make the technology work. Should be good. Can we confirm? Let's plan on it.
Yeah.
Let me confirm.
Yeah.
As soon as I get
yeah, so
a
what?
few things straight.
So what we would need then is, we would be meeting, you're saying, we just need to be able to record and stream, not virtual, right? We're gonna be in person? Yeah, okay. We've done that over at Berkshire.
Yeah.
You guys can do that.
Wait,
Few, but that would be.
Okay.
Yeah,
when does he leave?
Zili.
When does he leave?
but
He's done.
Tracy might know how to do it. Yeah, yeah.
When is he leaving?
Things do. And I think we're good.
Okay, all right, we're gonna say Berkshire. Yep, and then if you tell me you can't,
Let's plan on it.
like a week before, we'll move it. All right, so do we decide on a time?
7. Yeah.
All right, May 17th at 7 p.m. All right,
Right?
Berkshire.
at Berkshire,
Okay.
unless told otherwise, but plan on Berkshire. Okay.
Now can I look for a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Watson?
Miss Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Miss Krieger,
Yes.
Mr. Coy,
Yes.
Miss Sabata,
Yes.
Mr. Mazzacchio.
Yes.
6 yeas, we are adjourned.
Yeah.